Peace, 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 peace and salutations. Peace and salutations. Unfortunately, that we've had some bad news lately, and it's taken me about maybe a week or so to really get ready to deliver this story because one of the things that I did not want to do was to make the situation worse. There used to be journalistic rules in place where, journalists realized that they had a responsibility in terms of covering topics. However, with this one, uh, due to the way that the story was being covered, you know, I decided to just hold back and really take a look at how I was going to handle this or how I was going to position this. And salute to everyone entering the building. Make sure y'all like to get me into the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't, and by all means, feel free to comment or leave a comment at the end of the video, or even in the video. But this is about Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony was a 17-year-old bright student. He had a 3.7, I believe, GPA. Um, and he was in a great area of Frisco, Texas, which is a medium income area. He was a football player, star football player, and I believe that he also ran track. Well, he was at a track meet and it started to rain. So Carmelo went and they had those little tents, the little umbrellas up, and he went and sat under the tent of another school's of another school's. Now, during a track meet, there are multiple schools, so it's not just like this side versus this side. It is multiple schools there competing at one time. So there were multiple tents up. And like I stated, it started to rain. So Carmelo went to sit up under the tent of another school. Okay, so two other students, Austin and Hunter, um, saw Carmelo and went over and asked Carmelo to leave. From what I initially heard, it was because they were saying that they had, other students who belonged to the school, their belongings were there. And, they were sort of trying to protect their belongings. It's just speculation, and we won't know until like the actual court case. But it's speculated that Hunter started it. He went up and he said, asked him to move, and Carmelo then said, no, make me move. And it was like, don't put your hands on me. Austin came up and tried to take over the situation, his twin brother, because Hunter and Austin are both twins. And Carmela then unalived him by poking him in the chest. So Carmelo ran, he dropped the knife, but then he went back and he turned himself into the police. And basically all he told the police was that, like he was trying to defend himself. Okay, so they had a hearing, a bond hearing, because his bond was originally set too high. So they had a bond reduction hearing. And so they did reduce the bond where Carmela could bond out. So Carmela bonded out, and I think that upset a lot of the people who supported Hunter. And Hunter's the gentleman that lost his life. And so at that point, the judge began to get attacked. It is my belief that the family had been attacked and etc. So if you see my title, it states that did the media turn this into a race case? I heard some commentary. Just say no to Skull, where a lot of people were coming up giving their opinion, and I could hear people trying to turn this into a race situation, and not just a race situation, but like a militant style, where like Rodney King and situations. Well, let me just first take a second to tell you about those situations. Those situations never didn't benefit anyone. I think that Rodney King got a civil lawsuit, but a lot of the stuff that a lot of the buildings, the businesses, and different things like that were in LA never got replaced. Therefore, it affected more black people. It affected more people because now they have to travel out. Now there are no jobs close around. They have to travel out just to get basic services and things like that. So it has. So you're taking money. You're actually taking money out of your area. Likewise with Minnesota and the George Floyd situation. There was a lot of burning and looting and different things, which cost the taxpayers. That comes out of taxpayers' money, and sometimes those places never get rebuilt. So, like doing that type of stuff, and then people lose their lives. People end up going to jail themselves. So that type of stuff does not have a major benefit to us. So let me start there. But it's not just black people who made this a race situation. It is also, it was white people, and it was also my biggest thing. It was the media, and when I say media, I'm not just talking about Fox News. I'm not just talking about ABC or NBC. I'm also talking about YouTubers, and I say YouTubers intentionally and not content creators. Talking about somebody causing harm to someone else's life does not make you a content creator. Content creating is part of journalism, and it has a responsibility that comes with that. More or less, content creators creating should be something that's entertaining, educational, something that has some type of benefit, helpful benefit, and not an adverse one. However, like when these YouTubers are doxing the family, YouTubers, or also let me say Instagram, any social media, Twitter, Doge, and Twitter. When they're looking into these families' backgrounds, when they're putting these children, young children, minor children, the family of Carmelo's little young brothers and sisters, their faces up. They're putting them in danger. The parents didn't do this. Carmela did. And likewise, on the other side, you got Hunter and Austin, right? Uh, their family didn't do it. The children did. But let me just talk about for a minute what happened. Yesterday, the mother decided that she was going to speak out. And they did it because of this group that I'm going to eventually cover separately, because I've heard some things and it needs to be addressed as well. But it was some type of action network where a lot of times when we have these situations that happen to black families that may be, going against our civil rights or, unjust, a lot of times we have what we call race baiters, or I also call them race hustlers. We have a lot of them on YouTube. I myself call Umar Johnson in that school situation. A race hustle. I call a lot of this stuff a race hustle. A race hustle to me is when you come on and you promise people things that you know you can't fulfill. You rally up the group and you're the one that benefits. And then you leave that family or that group still more adverse than they were before. You leave, you don't come up with any solutions. You leave that group more adverse than what they were before. So that's my definition of a race hustler. But in a lot of situations, we already know when it comes down to like, especially a black boy. I don't think this is that black people care as much when it happens to a black girl or a black woman, but a black boy or a black man, it's like the whole black community as the majority. They step up and they're ready to go to bat, whether that black boy is right or wrong, right? Especially when there's a difference. Like Carmela is American, American, Black American, and Hunter and Austin are white American. There's always the undertone of race, whether it has something to do with that particular situation or not. Because we don't know. Like it could have been, it could have been really innocent. Because according to like what people have been saying, and I haven't looked into it because I have integrity, but they've been saying that Hunter has a lots of black friends and that he doesn't pose as a racist. They're saying on the other end, um, well, Austin had a lot of black friends. Yeah, I think I got them backwards. I got the twins mixed up. But one of them, the one that died, had a lot of black friends. The one that didn't, uh, they said that he was somewhat like the father. So let me go into what happened on yesterday. On yesterday, because of this Action News network, or because of this organization, in which they say that the speaker and the person that is a part of the organization has a past himself and a dark past, right? So basically he's doing that family an injustice by being their spokesperson. But however, there were speculations about the GoFundMe money, because there was a GoFundMe of 450,000 dollar GoFundMe raised on behalf of Carmela Anthony to help, with legal fees and different things of that nature. The family had to move because of the threats, to just help, because some people believe that like this was a situation of stand your ground and self defense. And then on the other end, you have people who don't believe it. So both sides and both families are getting support, right? They got a GoFundMe, they raised money, they got support. Well, uh, people are challenging the family and the $450,000 GoFundMe on Carmela Anthony's side. However, on basically the press conference was to come out and to let people know like what has been going on in terms of the threats. Even the judge that lowered the bond had been threatened. But it was to, advise people of what has been going on, and to basically advise people that they have not spent one dime of that 450K. Now, before the press conference started, Austin and Hunter's dad shows up. And you can see the sheriff and different people coming in, and they didn't use any aggression or any force or anything. You can see them talking to him. It took a minute, like I say 10, 15, at least 20 minutes to, walk him out. In that particular situation, it's like I, because he had an arm thing on, you can't speculate that he came to do harm. And then you got to look at something. Grief is a powerful thing, right? And I'm not making any excuses up. I'm just trying to look at things from two different sides, right? Because on one end we have a person that's possibly facing legal consequences and whose life is totally disarrayed. And then on the other side, you have, somebody who will never see their child again. I've seen it where, you know, parents lose their child and they lose their minds. Because, in a parent's mind, there's no way children are supposed to bury them and they're not supposed to bury their children. And especially in a situation where there was a twin, it's a situation where the twin was there and witnessed it. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of components going on, and we don't always go out and get proper mental health, right? Because in this case, needs to be some city given, some county given grief counseling on both parts. The county needs to support the safety of both families. The county needs to support uh, grief for both of the families because the kids did this. These were children. These were children. They hadn't even faced adulthood yet. We have 17-year-olds, like seniors, just about to, graduate and go out into college, just about to tap their first bit of dorm room freedom. Not even, they hadn't paid one bill. They hadn't had not one child. They hadn't had to buy groceries on their own or anything of that nature. So we're saying that these are children or children who has not had the ability yet of having that thinking on their own, critical thinking, adult thinking, mature thinking. So to hold them to standards of who's right and who's wrong, in my opinion, they were all wrong. In my opinion, they all made a mistake. And yes, because there was a life loss, Carmela is going to have to face some consequences. Now, hopefully, this does not, this gives him another chance at life. But just trust me, in this situation, he's gonna have to face some type of consequences. So, the best that we can do for Carmela and his family is to not make this worse than what it already is. The best that we can do for Austin, for the family of the Metcalf family. And yeah, I'm sorry it took me that long because I'm going off the dome with this. But it took me that long to think of their last name. But the best thing that we can do for the Metcalf family is to not make it worse than it already is. We need to give this family a time to breathe. These families. We need to give these families time to grieve. We need to give these families time to mourn. Because you have one family, they're mourning the life that they had before. They're mourning the innocence of their child. They're mourning, they're worried about what's going to happen to their child, right? And then on the other end, you have somebody who's mourning the life of their child altogether. So, like, what's needed in these situations is not war, it's healing. So that just brings me back to where I was. And y'all leave some comments in the comment section. Do y'all think that the media, whether it be YouTube, social media, with the doxing, with the putting out the children, with the harassing the judge, with the threatening phone calls, with the putting out the personal information, and I'm just going to say for both families. I'm going to say for both families because we've heard all kinds of speculations like, that the twin was on drugs, had drugs in the system, all kinds of stuff, fake autopsy reports, all kinds of stuff. It's wild, but it's not too wild because that's the same things that we know the people who utilize and people who are content creators and YouTubers and Instagrammers. We are often seeing that has become almost a part of the norm, which is shameful. But it's even more shameful when you have the news major syndicated networks doing the same thing as well. But do y'all think that the media is making this a race case? Do y'all think that the media is making it bad on the family? Like I said, whether it's syndicated media or whatever, do you think that media is going to not give not not give justice to the Metcalf family? Do you think that the media is going to put Carmela Anthony's family in further danger? And I say all this because I want us to think about our actions and the things that we do. Like I said, it took me a minute to figure out how to come on here and do this video because I realized that there was a responsibility. I realized that me alone just coming on here saying something could cause consequences to each of those families, could cause trauma, could do something harmful to them. And I realized that I had a human responsibility to come on here and try to be fair and balanced because Carmela is innocent until proven guilty. We don't have all the details and the facts on the case. We only know what they've been allowed to talk about. And in terms of the actual case, we won't find out until trial. And I'm not going to, if it was a situation of self defense, then, Carmela deserves justice for that. But if it was a situation where it was a mistake, because I think it was a mistake on all of their parts, in my opinion. But if it was a mistake, and even though he's a first time offender, he's not necessarily a troubled child, he's not a troubled child, there is still going to have to be some kind of consequences. And unfortunately, this is life altering for him, as well as it's life altering for his family, as well as it's life altering for the Metcalf family. So I just wanted to come on and talk about that for a minute because I'm building up to some other things that I'm going to talk about a little later or possibly tomorrow. Like I stated, I'm trying to make sure that I have integrity when I talk about these things. I don't want to make it worse for either one of the families. I don't want to make it worse. I sometimes we have to put ourselves in these situations. What if I was one of the parents who lost a child? What if I was a parent that lost a child? Or what if I had a child that I felt defended himself? How would I feel? And a lot of times, all this extra noise, throwing narratives out there, making the situations worse, is not going to help them nor us. Because we don't want a race war. We don't it's going to start, of course, in Texas. And there's some other situations that, like I said, I'm going to come on and talk about. But those situations does not benefit us. What benefits us is putting laws and stuff in place, putting the right elected officials in place, and exercising our rights. Because we have to have some type of law. We have to have some rules, some regulations. Because when it gets wild, that means innocent people, nobody's safe. That means a lot of people lose their lives. A lot of people may go to jail. That means a lot of people. So I just wanted y'all to think about that. And I guess I'm just going to keep up with this case, but I'm going to do it as responsible as I can. And I ask that if you are a content creator and you are covering this case, try to be as responsible as you can. You have to, in terms of journalism or in terms of covering these situations, you have to take your emotions out of the situation. And I know it's hard a lot of times to take our emotions out of the situation because it might not even be necessarily what just happened to this family that may trigger others. But what may trigger others is it may have happened to them as well. They may have lost a child. They may have a family member or be a person that faced injustice in the justice system. And so, in a lot of situations, a lot of times it is people that are triggered and they're coming out here making this about them instead of about these families. So until next time, this is unapologetically QI. Make sure y'all smash that like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Love, peace, and hair grease, and I'm out. Peace.